Chapter 8, The Dungeon. Mr. Bignose, says Terry, is that you? Of course it's me, says Mr. Bignose. What are you two clowns doing here? You're supposed to be writing a book. We are, I say. At least we were, but we got to page 54 and realized you hadn't called to remind us about the deadline like you usually do. So we called you, but you weren't there. It looked suspicious, so we decided to investigate and search for clues. Open zipper. And the trail of clues led you here, says Mr. Bignose. Well, not exactly, I say. We found a caterpillar in your office. We figured it must have seen what happened to you, so we took it to Jill's house so she could talk to it. Ah, says Mr. Bignose, so that's how you found me. Well, no, says Terry, because Jill had pricked her finger on a carrot and fallen asleep for 100 years. So I kissed her to wake her up, I say. Ew, says Jill. I know what you mean, says Terry, and it didn't work anyway because Andy's not a real prince. So then we had to go on a long journey to find an actual prince. But the best we could come up with was a potato prince. Oh, so that's why the potato was slobbering all over me, says Jill. Yes, I say, and I'm sorry about that, but at least you're awake now. Yeah, says Terry, and you can talk to the caterpillar and find out what happened to Mr. Bignose. You fools, shouted Mr. Bignose. You don't have to talk to a caterpillar. I'll tell you what happened. I was kidnapped by vegetables, that's what. But why, says Jill. Why would vegetables do such a thing? Because I published Vegetable Patty's book, Fun with Vegetables, that's why. Apparently they're a little upset about it. So the book was a clue, says Terry. I thought so. You thought everything was a clue, I say, even your own hand. Did not, says Terry. Did so, I say. Did not. Did so times infinity, I say, which wins the argument, but Terry doesn't hear me over the loud crunching and munching sound coming from just outside the dungeon door. The sound gets louder and louder, and then a hole opens up in the door and the caterpillar pokes its head through. Yay, says Terry. This is the caterpillar we were telling you about. It's come to save us. That's the silliest thing I've ever heard, says Mr. Bignose. How could a caterpillar save us? By eating all the vegetables, of course, says Terry. Yeah, I say, the caterpillar can eat anything. So far today, it's eaten 1 flying fried egg car, 1 enormous black bird, 2 steamrollers, 3 rhinoceroses, 4 wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men, 5 giant mutant spiders, 1 grumpy old tomato, 1 wall of asparagus spears, and 1 reinforced celery door. That caterpillar is amazing, says Terry. We should write a book about it. Well, don't expect me to publish it, says Mr. Bignose, as if anyone would want to read a book about a really hungry caterpillar. I would, says Jill. I love animal stories, but I don't think that caterpillar will be eating anything else today. Why not, says Terry. Because it's making a cocoon, says Jill, and once inside it will transform into a beautiful butterfly. And then it will eat all the vegetables, says Terry. No, says Jill, because it won't have a mouth, just a proboscis for sucking nectar from flowers. Well, that's no use to us, I say. What are we going to do? You're going to come with us, says a gruff voice as 2 eggplant guards unlock the door and enter the dungeon. It's lunchtime. Oh, thank goodness, says Terry. I'm starving. What are we having? You soup, says one of the eggplants. Says Terry. That sounds interesting. What's in it? You, says the eggplant, pointing at him. Then it turns to the rest of us. And you, and you, and you. Chapter 9, Human Soup. Well, this is another fine mess you've gotten us all into, Terry, I say as we sit in a pot of water suspended over a fire, surrounded by a mob of angry vegetables. It's not my fault, says Terry. It was your idea to come to this castle. Only because Jill pricked her finger on a carrot, I say. If it's anybody's fault, it's Jill's. That's got nothing to do with it, says Jill. It's obviously Mr. Bignose's fault for upsetting the vegetables by publishing that mean book. It's not my fault, says Mr. Bignose. It's Vegetable Patty's fault for writing it. Yes, it's Vegetable Patty's fault, I say to the eggplants. You should catch her and put her in the pot and let us all go free. We love vegetables. Yes, vegetables are the best, says Terry. Long live vegetables. Who are you trying to fool, says one of the eggplants. I've read your books. You and Andy hate vegetables. No, we don't, I say. It's fruit we hate. We've got a whole room in our treehouse just for smashing watermelons. Yes, but you also have a vegetable vaporizer, says the eggplant. That was Andy's idea, says Terry. And what about the rocket-powered carrot launcher, says the eggplant. Whose idea was that? Well, says Terry, that was mine, but the carrots enjoy it. No, they don't, and flying beetroots don't like people riding on them either. That's why we set them free. So that's where our flying beetroots went, I said. Another mystery solved, says Terry. Excuse me, says Jill to the eggplant. I don't hate vegetables, and I'd never dream of hurting one, so could you let me go, please? No way, snaps the eggplant. You feed truckloads of poor defenseless vegetables to your animals every day. That's why we sent that cursed carrot to your house, to put you to sleep. Jill's house, poor defenseless vegetables. So that's why Jill was asleep, I say. She wasn't cursed, the carrot was. Another mystery solved, says Terry. We're great detectives. We've solved every mystery that we had today. All the mysteries we've solved today. The mystery of the missing Mr. Big Nose, case closed. The mystery of the missing flying beetroots, case closed. The mystery of why everything looks, I can't tell what that says. Case closed. The mystery of why we haven't seen Jill lately, case closed. The mystery of why Jill has a curse on her, case closed. Enough jibber jabber, says the prince, stepping forward. You're all guilty of anti-vegetable activity, and for this you will pay the ultimate price. $1 million, says Terry. No, you fool, says the prince. You'll pay with your lives. He turns to face the assembled vegetables. My loyal subjects, he says, today we feast on human soup. The vegetables all start dancing around the pot and chanting. We've got you in a pot, and it's starting to get hot. Do you like it in our pot? No, we bet that you do not. We know just how you feel. You don't want to be a meal. You don't want your skin to peel. You don't want to scream and squeal. But that's bad luck for you, because there's nothing you can do. You will steam and sweat and stew. You will weep and cry boo-hoo. You will soften, wilt, and droop. You will slowly turn to goop, and then before you know it, you'll all be human soup. Well, doesn't look like there's much hope for us now, I say. And to think that it had to happen today of all days. What do you mean, Andy? Says Terry. You still don't remember, do you? I say. Remember what? He says. Forget it, I say. How can I forget it if I can't even remember it in the first place? Says Terry. Be quiet, you two, says Mr. Big Nose. Look at the vegetables. They're slowing down and falling asleep. They appear to have tired themselves out. Yay, says Terry, we won. Not really, says Mr. Big Nose. I think you'll find we're still tied up in a pot of water that's getting hotter by the minute. Yeah, good point, says Terry. I guess we lost after all. Suddenly, a ferocious vegetable-fighting warrior comes flying through the air, holding a potato masher in one hand and a vegetable peeler in the other. Never fear, she says. Vegetable Patty is here. Here's an asterisk by never fear. It means, unless of course you're a vegetable, in which case you should fear. Quite a lot actually, because look out, Vegetable Patty's here.